everyone, and a big welcome to all of you for this Serrano Seaton webinar this evening. I know quite a few people are still joining as we speak, so just going to do some quick introductions and welcomes, and then we're going to get going as soon as we can. So just by way of introduction, my name is Stefan, and I am the Director of Rainmaker Marketing. And the reason why we're doing this webinar is all good reasons. We've seen two interest rates cuts in recent times. We're seeing the market in a really, really positive space in KZN, specifically the North Coast. Been a great month for Serrano Seaton in terms of sales, and then Seaton as a development keeps smashing the lights out. And I think with a lot of interest from areas like Joburg and people coming down the coast this December, and it was really a great opportunity for all the interested parties in Serrano to give you guys a holistic overview in terms of what's happening within the product, what's happening from an architecture perspective, and what's happening more in a macro picture in terms of Ballito and surrounds. And the objective is really to give everyone unique insights, talk about stuff you might not necessarily be able to hear normally, and just lead you into what the next steps would be if Seaton is what you want to pursue from an investment perspective. And I think we're gonna keep this about 45 minutes. The objective is to answer as many questions as you possibly can. So please post those questions in the chat below. Anything you want to know, levies, rates, facilities, anything related to Seaton, Serrano, or the greater macro picture. And we want to go through the architecture, we want to go through the product itself, we want to go through location, and then we want to talk about factors such as what's driving the area and Seaton as a whole. So I think just by way of introduction, we've got a panel of people who've been significant in terms of either the area or the product. We've got Byron, Tenant, who's the lead architect of Craft of Architecture, and we'll talk about it now, but there's been a huge amount of work that's gone into massaging, creating a product of this nature, which really is an iconic product, iconic location within a very iconic estate, and we'll talk about it in a second. Also the architectural team behind very iconic projects around the North Coast, and Byron can talk about those in a sec. So how's it, Byron?
Hi, everyone.
Devon, who's the director of Dwell Properties, and will tell you that he knows the North Coast better than anyone else. And then another man who knows the North Coast pretty well, and that's Wright, who's the founder of Ballito Improvement Precinct, otherwise known as Ballito UIP, and a man who has been pretty fundamental in revolutionizing precinct living within the country, and a man who cannot get enough credit for what he has achieved and what impact that has on areas specifically like Ballito and various other ones within KZN. How's it, Brian? Really chuffed to have you on board.
Thanks, Steph. That's a big reputation to live up to.
Well, I'm seeing what you deliver, so I'm not scared about putting it out there. But I think we got to jump straight in. I think, Dev, we're going to cover the macro picture in terms of the area and the product and everything else. But I mean, what is the reason that Seaton, as an estate as a whole, has done so unbelievably well from a demand and sales perspective?
Steph, it's a very interesting one. The first thing I think about with Seaton is the direct beach access. And if I take you back into the 90s, property has always been part of my family, and I've always been interested in it. And growing up in Ballito, there was this mega estate called Zimbabwe with this direct beach access, gated estate living. It was the first of its kind in KZN, one of the first. And to watch that place flourish over the last 20 years has been fascinating. So I think what we're all excited about with Seaton and being partners within Seaton on the Serrano product, I think it's just so much excitement seeing this place come to life. As I mentioned, like in Bali, we've got direct beach access at Seaton. We've got a traversing route, which again, if you compare to the likes of a Valdevie and Pearl Valley down the Cape, we've seen how two estates can benefit mutually with a traversing route. We can enjoy both facilities on both estates. So there's so many driving factors on a property level that we're excited about. Seaton, they've broken record after each precinct they've launched at Seaton. So proofs in the pudding. There's some incredible homes coming to life as well. A lot of families moving in. We've got some good mates of ours who we've spent a good few evenings enjoying Seaton, enjoying that beach. That beach is spectacular down on Christmas Bay. So It's just a beautiful stretch of coastline. It's a beautiful development that's coming to life. It's still in its early stages, but definitely the new kid on the block on the North Coast.
Okay. And I mean, I know that they reached 1 billion in sales in August. I think with all the stock that's been released, I think it's about 82% sold out. And which is a hell of a success story for the province and for the country as a whole. And I mean, those are very significant numbers, which just shows the interest and the demand and the appetite for investment on the North Coast. And then, I mean, there was one more thing. I mean, in terms, I know you're growing up in the area. You mentioned you're raising a family there. I mean, what is that the appeal of the greater North Coast, the pocket of excellence?
Steph, I started more as like a Sleepy Hollow coastal town. And obviously, as I got a bit older and some big triggers like the airport, like the King Shark Airport coming to life, that was massive for us on a property level. And I think what that did with business and COVID also helped us with that. I think people learned to work a bit smarter, which Ballito, not just Ballito in terms of the country, but it gave people the opportunity to set their families up in not just a beautiful looking town, but just a place that was just growing exponentially very quickly. So the schools are phenomenal. You've got brilliant healthcare. You've got retirement solutions for grandparents. It's just a beautiful place to raise a young family, a swim in the morning before school in the afternoon. I think lifestyle is just a massive push. And I think everyone's after that. You've got one life and you need to live it. So if you can get to the coast, it's like I said, it's a really lucky place to be.
And Brian, I mean, I know you use those facilities to the fullest. I mean, I know you're always down the beach and experience it all, but what's the big driver for you guys as a family?
Yeah, so actually, in fact, my youngster just got out the surf now, so I'm damn envious. So I think that, particularly the North Coast has an extraordinary blend of the ability to access large economic nodes while living in an environment that's truly unique in South Africa. I've lived in the Cape, I've lived in the Eastern Cape, and the ability to work, to have all the supporting infrastructure, services, facilities, and of course the lifestyle is really unique in South Africa.
Brian, we just lost you there for a sec.
Have you got me?
Yeah, I got you back, yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, unless you've actually lived here, having lived around the coastline, you don't really understand the value of what we have here on the North Coast in terms of ability to run businesses, access economic opportunities, raise a family, and live what is quite frankly a remarkable lifestyle.
And then if we talk about Ballito as an urban improvement precinct, for anyone who doesn't know, what does that mean? And how does that apply to an estate like Seaton?
So I think we're all familiar with homeowners associations, and there's clearly a differential from driving down the access road into your secure community or gated estate. And once you're in there, you're at a whole different level of service. And what we say, there shouldn't be a differentiation between what's outside of the gate and what's inside. And the more that we can build out the quality, first of all, the safety, the quality of our public spaces, access roads, whether it be street lights, whether it be beachfront facilities. So the higher order of service that we can create and a seamless experience from your homeowners association through your commercially managed precincts into your general public areas, it really drives investor confidence. You come into Ballito. I had one of the owners of a large mall in Ballito's in Stellenbosch, and I had a session with him the other day, and he said to me, it was remarkable driving into Ballito. He says, we don't even have this level sense of arrival in the Cape. There's a whole measured, well thought out landscaping installation that we've been rolling out for 5 years. So at the end of the day, it's a lot of little pieces about from safety, security, cleanliness, all this, communications, creating enabling spaces, really well serviced ablution facilities that go well beyond just simply living in one of the gated estates, but it's part of your overarching experience. And I think that's what this is about, creating destination appeal. It's about pulling the various well-managed precincts, commercial, residential, together into an umbrella structure whereby irrespective of where you are, you say, hey, Ballito, the greater Ballito, is quite extraordinary. And that's where we're going. And there's a lot of people and a lot of institutional structures working around that to deliver that experience.
And I guess stating the obvious that the private-public partnerships are sort of the future of establishing thriving residential nodes.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't do this without engaging with the municipalities. And the Ballito UIP got an award for Quadacruise's best private sector community partner. And what it does, it helps us leverage municipal services. It helps us leverage a municipal understanding about the importance of investing in infrastructure that enables the development that happens. So those partnership structures with other community structures, other business structures, and the municipalities are all critical to creating a competitive advantage on the North Coast.
Okay. And Byron, I'm going to bring you in a sec, but Dev, if we move on to Serrano as a product, I don't know if people know, but some of the beachfront properties at Seaton have broken all sorts of records, trading at like 12 million a plot, which if one multiplies by 4 is the sort of value of the type of homes you're going to get in there. And then Serrano has set a new precedent in the sense that it's been the first sectional title development on the highest point of Seaton. Who's the market that Serrano is best suited to?
Steph, I think Byron and his team at Craft of Architects were so over dealing with us and getting this product right over 2 years, because that's what it's taken. I think we've had, I don't know, Byron will correct me, but we've probably had about 20 odd revisions on the scheme. I think what was first is that the site was zoned for 42 opportunities, which means we could do 44 properties on the site. It is a challenging site in terms of its undulation, and what's off the back of your research, thank you, Rainmaker, was that we definitely saw the need, like most of these gated estates, where it needs to be catering for the community base. So you need to be targeting your young families, you need to be targeting your retirees, and then your guys who want to come have a lacquer time at the beach. So it was, how did we create this model? We completely de-densified the site. We cut it into half. So we've only got 21 opportunities at Serrano. We try to cater for your classic discerning holiday maker who wants to get to the coast, the perfect lock up and go. That picture right behind you, Steph, that is our block of apartments at the back of Serrano. It's a combination of 2 and 3 bedroom apartments as well as 2 penthouses. The views are outstanding. You look south back towards Devon and north all the way down the coast. So the views from up there are spectacular. We then have the other apartments as well. The next level of villas were purely marketed at almost like single level living, where you do have garages underneath, but your home is above you with a nice big generous back garden and optional pool. So that perfectly catered, and we've seen it, and we've really seen it work in some of the other estates where you can bring this product to life. So that was a perfect offering for your younger families as well as your retirees, or even a lock up and go. And then we've got our 2 big villas, which is almost like your house option, which sits at the bottom of the valley. So yeah, all in all, Steph, we try to cater for 3 segments of the market, which are on point for guys who want to be as close as they can to the beach. And Serrano's that.
Why do you not have a background, Dev?
Dev, technical issues. I'm good at sales, but not our team, my friend.
I'll see that. So Byron, how many variations did you guys go through?
Sure, it was quite a couple of lost count over the last year or 2, but maybe I could expand on what Dev was saying. I would love to just share a quick graphic and just kind of reinforce some of those things Dev was saying, if that's all right.
100%.
You guys see that okay?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. So yeah, as Dev said, we de-densified and we landed up with 21 units, but the zoning for the site actually allowed for double that, which we explored initially as one would, to try and maximize on the site. But what we got to a resolved product, and we had to kind of take a step back and say, is it right for the site? Is it doing the end user justice? Is it doing the site justice? And is it the right thing for the estate? And on top of that, we couldn't quite offer all those things Devon was talking about, like gardens for families, and it was just what you're seeing on the screen there. Imagine double the amount of building and half the amount of green. And when you double the amount of units, you double the amount of cars. They're very hungry on space and concrete. So yeah, it just kind of leapfrogged. And while we could get it to work, it wasn't right. So we had to take a tough decision, and alongside the client, we reworked the brief to try to figure out what was right. So what you see on the screen are the 21 units, and you can see we've brought a lot more green spaces in between the homes to really soften it and give it a much softer feel and a less intrusive scheme. So just to quickly talk about the site, so you understand why things are the way they are, is so quickly on the north side here is a big conservation belt which actually runs the full length of the northern boundary, which ensures a really big buffer zone between us and the next development or the next developable piece of land. And as goes for the southern side, we have really generous setbacks between the Zululami homes here. So it's buffered on both ends. So it's quite a nice, private, tucked away little spot. And then we've got the highest portion of the site up top here on the left, and the lowest down here on the right, with the sea on the right hand side. Yeah, it's just cropped off. So that's kind of the bearings of the site. And then right up on the top, we've sited the condos, as Dev said, which have the sweeping panoramic views. That is, I believe, one of the highest points in Seaton, or I think it is the highest point in Seaton. Then within the condos, it's a 3-story building. We've placed the larger 3-bedroom units on each end, prioritizing the larger units to have the end, so that we could really peel that glass line around the sea-facing elevation, as well as the southern and north elevation. So you don't just get this tunnel view of view. We really wrapped it around and tried to make the most of the panoramic views. And then the entry level offerings are sandwiched between the two. And then right on the top, we have the Mac Daddy penthouse units at around 225 squares, where again we've put the living spaces on the outside of the building, on the corners, so they can really maximize on those views, yet still be private. And then moving down the site, we have the villas. Here we've really tried to make the topography work for us. It is a steep, tricky site. So what we've done there is we've terraced the buildings to allow for views over each other. And then we've used flat concrete roofs and addressed it with some planting. So we've acknowledged that, that is an elevation that will be seen, which is often something that's forgotten. So there's been quite a lot of care into put ourselves in the position of the user and see what they're going to be seeing. So you always guarantee these views over each other. These are 2-story buildings with garages on the bottom end, and then you live above with the back private courtyard on the back end. And then right at the bottom, we have the executive homes. These are really 2 bespoke houses back to back, and these are closest to the sea. So that really makes up the Serrano and what's on offer there.
Yeah. I know you and John have always said, when it comes to the coast, you want to look at the sea, but you want to have the ability to live away from it if you need to. So I think 100%. Those indoor courtyards are pretty underrated.
Yeah. I mean, that was a talking point early on. I mean, we've done a lot of coastal homes, and some of us live on the coast, so we understand what it's about. You do on those rare perla days want to be out on the balcony looking directly at the sea, but we know in the summer that onshore comes up at like 11 o'clock, and you want to be in your back courtyard browing by lunchtime, out of the wind, but still being able to see the sea. So that was quite an important consideration early on. Yeah.
Okay. And then Dev, for those who don't know, in terms of what it means for pets and parking, all that kind of stuff?
Steph, so again, with frustration from Craft of Architects, we wanted to make sure everyone had double garages. So I think that's also a major fault in a lot of these schemes where storage becomes something that everyone forgets about. So everyone's got a double extra length garage, which is very important to us. Pet policy for Seaton, 2 pets, 2 dogs, no cats. What else, Steph?
No, I think you covered that. And then, I mean, the last month, I mean, it's been a cracker month sales-wise. I mean, what's driving that demand? I mean, I know we 50% sold out now, but what's been the reason?
Steph, I think more in terms of the macro development, looking at Seaton, I think watching Seaton come into its own. They're currently opening up their main entrance, which is, it's like a piece of art. Driving through there, Seaton's really starting to show up. You can see it coming to life. So I think that was a major trigger. I think like most of the states that we trade in, as soon as you start getting establishment with facilities, people start to feel a little bit more comfortable that they're backing a good horse in terms of a developer. And obviously being Collins Group, they're a fantastic outfit. They're really looking at Murray Collins and Jeff Perkins and the rest of the professional team. This is proper flagships for them. This is something that they want their generations to see down the line. So you can see the detail that's going into it. And I think that's just been quite a big driver where guys want to see some triggers, and that's definitely helped. And I think going into summer now, that's really when any sea view development is going to show off.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we always say, look at the jockey. In this case, you've got a jockey of Serrano, where there's a huge amount of detail, and then you look at the master developer, whose intention is always to over-deliver, and it really does bode well for everyone in the process. And I think the understanding that you do that, it creates value for everyone in the pipeline. Dev, just in terms of the questions that have come through, I'm going to try and load them here. So just more information on facilities. I assume they're referring to Serrano and surrounds. And then just in terms of, is there beach access? And if so, how far is that?
Steph, first on the beach access, because I actually had a client today phone me about how far is it if I wanted to walk to the beach from Serrano. You're about 460 meters down to Christmas Bay. So there's a little beach clubhouse facility between Serrano, and when Byron pulled up that picture showing us in the buffer section between Zululami, those fences have now been dropped, so you've got a walk-in access down to a little beach pavilion, has a little pool, change room facilities. It's fantastic. You've got a turnstile which takes you down onto Christmas Bay Beach. My daughter's found cowrie shells on the beach there still. You can pick up rolling oysters at the spring lows. So it's, in my opinion, definitely the most special beach here on the North Coast. And then you've obviously got the Black Marlin, which is one of the facilities that Seaton are offering, which is their beach club facility. I haven't measured exactly, Steph, but it's probably under 700-800 meters away. That's still in the process of getting developed. But in terms of macro facilities through Zululami, Seaton, it's endless. They're from activity courts, astros, to beach clubhouses and restaurants and sports pavilions, cricket ovals. I would encourage anyone who wants to know about facilities, pop onto the Seaton website, check out the facilities. You will be blown away. And like I was saying to Steph earlier, 90% of that's either complete or in the process of being complete. So it's very believable now.
Okay. And then just to recap, Serrano in terms of what are we looking at pricing wise? Mm-hmm. And again, just to recap in terms of which options work for which type of buyer appetite.
Steph, so starting off the apartments, we've got the 2 beds which sit in that sleeve behind you. We have the 3 bedrooms on the wings, and then the 2 penthouses right above your head there. So our 2 beds were the entry level at just under 4 million, at 3.95. One sold, one available. One of the clients who's actually listening tonight, I believe, has reserved number 4, which is on the northern side of the middle floor, 3 bedroom, perla sea views down the coast. Those are the 2 3 bedrooms on the wing, and then obviously those penthouses upstairs. So 3 bedrooms, just under 5 million, and then the penthouses just under 8. We have the collection of villas going down the hill, and I think what those have been interesting, as soon as we pegged the sites and to see the position of the units, to see those villas, look, their views aren't as spectacular as the apartments. They've still got sea views, but the benefit of them, you've sunk in a bit, so you're a little bit out of that prevailing wind, which is really nice. So there's massive value to those. Those villas are anywhere from just over 6.1 million up to 6.8, depending on your position. And then the 2 executive homes down at the bottom, 1 sold, we have 1 left, that's 8.2 million. And yeah, that makes up the variety.
Okay, and then a question from Nick Phillips is, when you anticipate breaking ground?
Steph, we got news last week, I think it was, or the week before, that our STP has been approved, which is it's a massive feat. That with that being approved, we can confidently say come 1 March we'll be ready to be on the ground. So we'll just getting site preps in the new year. So from, I'd say, end of Jan through to 1st of March, we'll be prepping site, getting that ready, and then hopefully full steam ahead come 1st March.
Okay, and then completion date from there?
Contractors like to say within 12 months. We've delivered more units than Serrano in a quicker time, but as Byron will tell you, it's definitely a challenging site. So I think a lot of work's going to go into those levels, but I think best case scenario within 12 months.
Okay, got it. And then I think just for any of you who are watching, I know the team has posted the website address, Serrano Seaton.co.za. So on that, you can go onto the property marketplace, which is what Byron referred to, and then you can actually go through different availability. You can search for availability in the different bedroom options. You can also go into the different units, and you can see the view from every type of unit. You can also see the renders specific to that, the internal courtyards, the balconies, interiors, and stuff like that, to really be able to make key decisions around what suits you price-wise and product-wise. And then Dean at Serrano Seaton.co.za is who you would contact, who's a dedicated sales representative for Serrano, who'll be able to talk you through all the different options, take you to site, or plan a site visit if you're coming down to Devon from Joburg in the next couple of weeks. Brian, I just want to ask you sort of a last question around the greater area. I mean, from an infrastructure perspective, I mean, obviously there's a huge amount happening. People are always going to ask questions around, can the infrastructure support the growing population? I mean, what are your thoughts, number one, and what are the key sort of infrastructural drivers that are defining the area at the moment?
Well, I think in the country today, probably the number one question is water. And we're extremely fortunate in the Greater Ballito. We're supplied by Hazelmere Dam. This year, the final dam wall was raised, commissioned. They've started filling the dam, and effectively that doubles the capacity of Hazelmere Dam, which services the Greater Ballito area. We're also very fortunate to have probably the best water services provider in the country. It's a private sector, one of 2 concessions in the country. They run a really tight ship in terms of supply and both water and dealing with the critical issue of sanitation. So the water and sanitation issue is in a good place. From electricity, I'm not fully equipped to talk to that, but I think as technology evolves, particularly from a residential site aspect, we're less and less dependent on municipal power supply. I think also we mustn't also underrate our road access. We've got the M4, the coastal road. We've got the N2 that's undergoing major expansion, and that's all the way from Maritzburg, and then up north, all the way through towards Ballito. I mean, it's quite an exceptional piece of engineering. And for a lot of those commuting to the big commercial nodes in eThekwini or the Greater Durban, I mean, the traffic, there is no traffic issue within the broader area. And I think probably the other aspect is around, more so than infrastructure itself, is saying, well, how are we going to better collectively manage this in partnership with the municipality? And there's real progress being made around that. Things like disaster management, practicalities like street lights, things like general levels of security collectively. So yeah, I think from an infrastrucral point of view, we're very well set on the North Coast, and also from an operational management point of view. Because all of the homeowners associations, they're not islands, they sit within a broader collective, and it's about that broader collective that we're working hard at driving value towards.
Okay. And I mean, Dev, for you, in terms of what you think the future of the North Coast is?
Sure, Steph. It's a tricky one. I think. Well, I'm always fascinated to where all these people come from, Steph. From when you and I launched Elaleni back in 2017, 2018, and then fortunate, it's been probably 8 or 9 projects since. And as a salesman, you scratch your head and you hope that your market research as well. But I think trends are still on the up. The latest stats we saw was still between 30 and 40 families a month moving north. So again, I think it's just that quality of life that's driving a lot of our North Coast markets. It'll be interesting to see what happens after Seaton. I think there's going to be a big push inland. There's some beautiful sections of agri-land that are currently going through the zoning process with blanket zoning. So I think we're going to see a lot more of the agri residential projects coming to life, which will be fascinating. But yeah, I think we're just still riding this wave, Steph, and yeah, we just hope that we can keep up on the delivery from a municipal level. But yeah, we're excited down here.
And then I know I've been warned not to talk about Club Med because it'll be a very long webinar. but I know Nick Phillips has asked the impact of Club Med. I mean, what do you guys think?
Byron's the architect, so I think he can start.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm not too close to that specific project, but I don't know. I heard, I don't know if it's true. It's bringing in how many international flights a week, or maybe you guys would know. I mean, it's just bringing in a lot, or potentially bringing in a lot more tourism to the area, which is great.
Steph, what's your take on it? I know you've been part of that.
No, I think if you chat to, obviously quite close to a lot of professional team. I think a lot of the team working on Serrano are involved in Club Med. COA have been driving the process. Yeah, I don't think anyone really understands the impact of what Club Med is going to have on the north coast of South Africa, or north coast of KZN and in South Africa. Our biggest tourism project in the country since Sun City. It's going blazing at the moment, and the guys have done such an incredible job. And yeah, everyone talks about what airlines follow, Air France and Singapore Airlines and Virgin and all the rest. But just, the impact of having 600 keys, I think it is at 80% occupancies, what that does in terms of driving job creation, growth, tourism. And yeah, they could have picked any destination pretty much in South Africa, and they chose KZN North Coast, which is literally, if you go Seaton, as you know, you literally go Seaton North and you're on Club Med. So it just shows you what gems you got on the North Coast. You need to be super proud of that. So yeah, it's gonna people are gonna wake up. I think Tinley are gonna wake up in a year and a half's time and be like, what the hell happened? And I think it can only be positive.
I think what was to add to that, Steph, we try to do a bit of market research off the back of what a Club Med would do to our residential markets, which again, I think the feedback was pretty similar, where it was like you have no clue what's coming. I think it was the same with the airport when King Shaka was announced, and we were all expecting what we thought would be big, which superseded that completely. And I think we laughed the other night at the bar where I think our kids are going to end up being like pool boys at Club Med, and our daughters are going to be waitresses, and so it'll be fascinating to see what it does on an international level. I think the next 10 years will be exciting.
Yeah, and I think that the interesting thing about that is for so many years people are like, oh, is it going to happen? Is it really going to happen? And then it did happen, and people were still, is it really going to happen? And now you just gone to site, and that thing is just off the chart. What's happening? So yeah, it's very much
I think also, Steph, just for people who haven't seen that little piece of land, so I've fished. So the Mshlari Ski Boat Club is located pretty much on Club Med. That little stretch is mind blowing. So I think that's also the thing. I think if no one's been to site, and one day when that place is opened up, it's like a lost city. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah. And Brian, we're talking about resorts and swimming beaches and water and all the rest. How good is the water on the North Coast?
Yeah, so
the sea quality.
So I was on site on Saturday with Mr. Tilbrook. We had a braai out there and took a walk around site. I spent 5 years in Hawaii, so I understand big resorts. I was absolutely blown away by the scale of Club Med on that North Coast. It is a truly remarkable what they're building there. It really is. And I think it is going to have a significant impact on the residential market. If you think of our location to the airport and our short trip from Europe, not losing any real time. So, but coming back to water quality, I did talk about Caesar water. So I think we test 11 test sites on the North Coast now, starting from Tongaat River all the way up to Mshlari River. We do all the beaches, we do all the tidal pools. And we really have been very fortunate that we have Caesar water and we have the level of sanitation management we do, because we run probably a 99% of clear results, open beaches. It's quite extraordinary. I think you'd struggle in any first world country where you have density of built environment along a coastline to register the water quality that we have here on the North Coast. So it really is, I'm a water user, my boys are water users, and yeah, we're very mindful and we watch it very closely, but it's great.
Okay, no, that's amazing. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I think as you move towards wrapping up, Devon, if you could just recap in terms of, number one, those who are on this webinar, obviously interested in Serrano. Many are probably already dealing with Dev, but with Dean. But what is the process in terms of being able to set up a site visit? And just a reminder of the purchasing process. What are you putting down now? How long before you obviously locking in your purchase price now? But how long before you have to pay your first payments on transfer? And just recapping on that before we close.
Steph, yeah. So our head office on a sales level is not even 2K, 3Ks from Seaton, so we are very close. So to set up your site visit, it should be pretty straightforward. We will make sure that we can get you on site. Ideally, that Dean meets you on site and gives you the whole tour of Seaton, and then heading down to Serrano. It's a classic off-plan development step. So 10% deposit now within 7 days of signature. Guarantees or bond pre-approvals for the balance of your purchase price, and that all kicks in on key handover. So when you receive your keys within 12 months, that's when that bond of yours will register, or you pay the cash across.
Perfect, got it. Okay, guys. I think we've answered all the questions. There is a recording of this webinar, so anyone who has watched or anyone who couldn't watch will receive the link to recording tomorrow. You guys are welcome to forward it on to friends and family or anyone else looking to get information on Serrano. But again, just a big thank you to everyone who's joined. A big thank you to our panelists. Always great chatting, guys. And yeah, I just hope everyone has a good evening, and looking forward to lots of positivity in this country, in the property market on the North Coast. And yeah, we've seen 0.25 interest rates in the last week. Everyone's talking about another 0.5 beginning of 2025, and which bodes really, really well for any property investments, especially within gem locations like Serrano. So have a good evening, everyone, and thanks again.
Steph, thank you.
Cheers,
Thank you,
guys.
guys. Thank
Cheers,
you.
Cheers, bye.
Yes.